All right. Good morning, class. As you guys know, I'm out today. My kids got sick. I've been sick all week, and so it's time for me to take a day. I got to watch my kids. Now, in math today, you guys are going to be continuing to talk about volume, the amount of space an object takes up. We've been looking at measuring volume by counting cubic units and looking at the actual cubes. Now, today, you guys are going to be expanding that, and we're going to look at how to solve volume problems using the formula. Now, we're going to begin with cubes, though. So we call them cubic units because what we're actually doing is finding the cubes and counting how many cubes would fill that space. Now, any cube is made of 3 dimensions. That's why it's called, and if this was 1 cubic inch, it would be 1 inch cubed to the 3rd power. Now, it says to the 3rd power cubed because there are 3 dimensions, like a 3-dimensional object. So you have your height going up, and then you have what we usually would have for area, which is length, the longer side, and width, the shorter side. Now, when you multiply length times width, you're going to find the area of the base of the shape. Now, we're going to look at how we can take the area of the base of the shape, and by adding in the height today, we can find the formula for finding the volume of any 3-dimensional object that is a rectangular prism or a cube. Now, today in your work, you all are going to be taking a look at several rectangular prisms. And I don't want you just to simply count all the cubes in the first layer and then the second layer like we discussed. So last time we met, we talked about how you could count the front layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and double it because you see that there are 1, 2 layers going back. Alternately, on the other hand, you could count the top and then double that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you know that there's a bottom layer there with no gap, so you could double it. So the volume of this shape should be what, class? Yeah, 20. Now, there's another way to find it. We're going to look at finding length, width, and height, and then beginning to find the volume by using the formula for finding volume, boys and girls. So the length is always going to be the longer side at your base. The base is the bottom of a 3-dimensional object. So the length would be this length right here. Count those cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to write a length of 5. Now where it says length over on the side, we're going to fill in a 5. Pretty easy. Width. Width is how wide the base of the object is. Now the base is just the bottom. So we're just going to look over here. This right here is our width. We have a width of 2. The width should be shorter than the length. Now this side could be the length sometimes if it's longer, and the front could be the width if it was shorter. Now, the height of this figure is basically saying the same thing as what we were talking about yesterday. What is the amount of layers that we're dealing with? We have 1 layer on the bottom, and we have 1 layer above that. So we have 2 layers, or 2 is our height. Now, we already know the volume of this shape is 20 because 5 times 2 would give us the bottom layer or the top layer, 5 times 2. And I'll highlight that so you can see what I mean. You can find this length on the top, length of 5, width of 2, and multiply that to find the top layer, which is 10. And then we're going to multiply times 2, which is the height, to find the full volume. 20 cubic centimeters, or 20 centimeters to the 3rd power, because there are 3 dimensions, right? Now, let's look at letter B, and I want you all to fill in the dimensions. Here's how you spell that. Dimensions. So when you hear someone say that's 3D, they're talking about 3 dimensions. A dimension is a measurement. So there are 3 measurements that make up a 3-dimensional object. Length of 3, width of 2, and then the height, which there are how many layers? 1, 2, 3, 4. So length is 3 centimeters. 1, 2, 3. Width is 2, and the height is 4 because there are 4 layers stacked on top of one another. Now, If I find one layer, I'm basically finding the area of the base of the shape, the bottom of the three-dimensional shape. Now, you've been finding area for a long time. How do you find area? Length times, you should be saying width. Yeah. So length times width. Now, you're going to multiply the base and then multiply it times the height. So 3 times 2 gives us how many in our main layer? If I have a length of 3 times 2 layers, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We all know 3 times 2 is 6. Now, if I have 6 in the top layer, I multiply that times 4 to get my volume. So 6 times 4 is 24. Hopefully I don't screw up on the video, right, guys? Now, I want you to fill in the dimensions for C and D. Pause the video, please. Fill in the dimensions and then find the volume by counting how many on the first layer, then multiplying that times the height. Go ahead and pause. All right, after you guys have gone over those, let's take a look real quick. Length on this one is 4, going across, has a width of 2, layer of 4. So 4 times 2, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the top, times 4 is 32. On letter D, you should have had 4 across, 3 width. So I'm going to have 4 length, 3 width, and a height of 3. So 4 times 3 gives me 12 on the top layer. And I have 3 height, or 3 other layers going down. So 12 times 3 is 36. Right? Now, on the bottom here, it says use the multiplication sentence that you could use to calculate the volume for the rectangular prism in problem 1. So they have A, B, C, and D. That should match the numbers up here. So I want you to fill in, what did you have to multiply to find your answer? Go ahead and pause and do that now. All right, so you should have had length times width times height. Hey guys, guess what? That's the formula for finding any rectangular prism or cubic shape's volume. Now, you should have put, for any of these, A should have been 5 times 2 times 2. You do one of these facts at a time, then do the last one. The last one is your height. The next one should have been 3. Oops, this is letter B. 3 times 2 times 4. And the next one is 4 times 2 times 4. And the last one is 4 times 3 times 3. And all of these would be equal to the final volume that we discovered, right? Now, you don't have to have the grid to be able to calculate this, boys and girls. So now we're going to take a look at the back. Sometimes the grid isn't there. Now, this is what you usually are going to end up seeing, actually. It doesn't change anything, though. Sorry, guys. The cold and all. It doesn't change anything, though. You have your dimensions. You have your length of 4, your width of 3, and your height of 4. Now, I can actually draw in the grid if I wanted to. I could, go through and draw 1, 2, 3, 4 across. 1, 2, 3 over here. It's going to look sloppier than what the computer would do, though, when they drew it in. Then I would go and do my diagonals. I could do this, guys, but the truth is you don't have to, because you know the formula now. You can visualize that this is what it would look like. 4 across, 3 width, and then 4 in height. But what I can do is just say, okay, I know it's going to be the first layer, which is 4 times 3. And then that's going to equal 12, which will be times the height. So I'm going to do 12 times 4, and I get 48, right? So that would be 48 inches cubed. Because there are 3 dimensions, cubed means you put 3 there for all 3 dimensions, length, width, and height. Now, for this one, same thing. Here's another way you could write it and solve it. You could do 6. You can start with the height if you want. It doesn't matter with multiplication. You go either direction. 6 times 2 times 3. You can put little carrot sticks down here and multiply them one at a time. So that's 12. Oh, I broke my pencil.